Hey everybody, so welcome back to Jim Bob's Garden. So today what I'd like to do is take you around and kind of show you what we got going on here in the garden. Give you a full garden tour. It's the middle of May, and what better time to check it out and see what's happening. Just so you know, the temperatures are really hot right now. It's like 90 degrees and about 70% humidity or so. But that's Florida. Alright, anyway, let me show you what I got growing. So the corn is doing okay. It's not doing great. You can see it's kind of spindly. Some germinated, some did not. But you can see down inside, like right there, that's some beans. And over there, you can see my spaghetti squash is starting to grow up. I'm going to thin those out just a little bit. And regardless of what the corn does, at least I'll have some spaghetti squash and potentially some beans up in here. And then down here, I've got my my potato patch, this was a secondary potato patch from some seed potatoes I got from my neighbor. And they're doing okay, but they really haven't grown up as large as I would have expected them. And then down here is Kohlrabi. And you can see I might have one Kohlrabi come up. This has been growing since the fall. You see a lot of them are dying back. We did just get a bunch of rain, so I'm not sure if it's a moisture thing or it's just the wrong season, but it just never really wanted to grow. And part of that is because the stinking ducks keep eating it. They just love the leaves of that, so they munch on that all the time. Over here you see I've got a couple of the potato plants that have died back, so I'm going to dig those up, see if there's any potatoes up underneath there. Don't have a lot of hope though, because those plants just never really got large. And again, this is a new bed, and the bed really hasn't had as much compost as I'd like to put into it, so we're going to keep working on it, keep adding to. Alright, and then we'll come over here on this side. And so far the tatsoi is growing well. I'm going to have to harvest a bunch of that. And then you can see I'm starting to get a little bit of brown on the leaves of my turnips. And these are small Japanese turnips, so I'm going to start probably harvesting a few of those. And then the tomatoes are looking a little peaked. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. It just doesn't seem like, you know, they're doing great. But now I will say that, you know, it was hard to keep moisture in this bed because it's been so dry here lately. And down here you can see where I dug up all the onions in my last video. I now have a little bit of eggplant, little finger eggplants. I like them because they're smaller and they seem to taste a little better. Collards are still going crazy. My kiwi plant, which I only have one, so it'll never really produce. But now I've got a lot of hope for my grapes. If you look at the grapes, they're doing really good. And if you look right there, you can see a whole bunch of flowers. So hopefully those all are mostly develop into grapes and bunches of grapes. But again, the pollinators just don't seem to be here. I don't know what is up with the pollinators. This is my other potato patch. You can see some of it's starting to die back, so it won't be long. We'll be harvesting all our potatoes in here. Then I'll figure out what I'm going to put back in this. Not really sure. Alright, over here in these two lines, you can see my Egyptian spinach. And that has actually started to sprout up. It's only been a week and a day. So I'm pleased. I'm happy with that. And then my wild ground cherry. It's put on a lot of flowers. We'll see if it actually develops into anything. Alright, so in here I got a lot of carrots and they're getting huge. I'm going to have to start harvesting some of those. And that's pretty much the primary thing in the garden right now. Then of course my radishes that I'm allowed to go to seed, so I can get the seed pods. Some I'll keep for seed, others I'll harvest and put them in salads. And then back in behind there, you can see I've got my broccoli. And again, I mean, broccoli really does not like the heat, but it's primarily being grown for the leaves right now. It's a nice addition to the salad. And then here I've got a lettuce plant that I'm allowed to go to seed. That's the black-seeded Simpson. I like it a lot better than most of the rest of them. Got my pepper plants doing pretty well. That's some lettuce that is just being hurt right now. Behind that, some Malabar spinach. We should do okay. Then down here, we got some other baby pepper plants. That's a cow horn. And then over there is another bell pepper. And then in the back there, that's a tomato. Not really sure what kind of tomato. It was a volunteer. More peppers along here. Now that right there, this one there, and this one here are pepper plants from last year. As is that one right there. So you can see that they're really looking rough. And that one back here in the corner. There, here, there, and then over here is another one. Now that one's doing very well. It's actually producing a lot of peppers. So I mean, it is a success, but they're just not doing fantastic right now. They are putting out peppers though, so I'm pleased with that. And we'll let it continue as it goes along. And then back here, most everything here was lettuce and so on. And you can see it's all bolting out. I really want to get some of that Merlot seed, so I'm going to let that all bolt. This is another broccoli plant, which I'm probably going to have to cut down. Don't know yet. But the big thing in this garden right now is going to be the green onions in the back. And then we got some dill here that volunteered. And man, the dill just, it has not gotten big at all. It's really been weak. Not sure why. It's unusual. Dill usually goes crazy here. Then we got some other seed producing lettuce there, so once all that seed gets ready to be harvested, I'll probably clear this bed out. We do have some peppers in here, some more of the purple peppers, and we'll see what we want to do with this bed later on. Alright, but it's doing okay. I'm not unhappy. Up in here I have some garlic. Now the garlic is starting to split out. You'll see, like right here. And what that is I've got individual cloves down there that are trying to grow. Now, keep in mind, I put this here primarily as a pest deterrent. And, I mean, it seems like it's doing okay. You know, because if you look over here, I got the garlic on this side, and then I've got the chives on the other side. And things are seeming to grow pretty well up in here. Don't have a lot of issues with pests. I mean, I've got some, but the chard is doing fantastic. We've been harvesting a lot of that and eating it, so it's doing well. And I got some beans growing up in here. I need to get in there and harvest. You can see a couple of beans sticking out over there. There's a whole bunch on that plant right there, so I got to get in here and harvest some beans. It's going to be a big project for this week, is get some harvesting done. And then, of course, my zinnias, which are going nuts, having a ball, and should be covered in pollinators. But I do not see a singular bee anywhere. I just don't know what's up with pollinators. Alright, my peas are trying, but it's fixing to get really, really hot. And I got a few small pods growing. I just don't know, man. I don't know if that's actually going to work out or not. Let's go back in here. Show you my tomatoes. Now this tomato here, I'm going to start off with that one first off. Oh, almost fell. Alright, so this tomato, I found a mole hole up underneath the bottom of it, or a mole tunnel, and it has killed that plant. Now it's got tomatoes on it, so I'm trying to let them sit there and ripen up. I don't think anything is going to come back with this plant, so once those tomatoes are, I don't know, a little redder, I'll probably pull those off and plant another plant there. I've got some extra plants to put in. That's one of the reasons I tell you, always keep some extra seedlings or plants to put out, so that way you don't have an issue. Rest of them seem to be doing just fine. I got some basil up underneath there, and you can see I got tomatoes there. I got more tomatoes right there. You see there's a bunch of them in there. Got some more tomatoes down there. So we're getting tomatoes. They're just not quite ripe yet. Another pest preventer little bit of marigold up in here. Try and camouflage the scent a little bit. And back here, this is my good garlic. And what I had done last year is I had taken stalks like I was showing you over there that had basically sprouted up from the bulbs, all right, and split apart, and I planted those up in here, and they seem to have been the best producing garlic so far. Well, I mean, I haven't pulled any up, but you can see the stalks are nice and healthy, thick and strong, so I have the best hope right now of getting garlic from these. I have gotten some smaller garlic, which is still a success, but not like what I wanted. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They look like they're going to put out actual, no kidding, garlic bulbs, which will not last us long, so I will more than likely be buying garlic this year. And that's okay. I mean, not everything's going to be a success. And back in here, this is my zucchini, which I've got a couple of small zucchinis trying down in there. Not really sure if they got pollinated. We'll see if they continue to grow out to a decent size. Got another one down there. So, I mean, so far it seems to be successful. They're growing and trying, so we'll see how that all works out. And then over here, I have my cucumbers. Now you see, I've kind of let this oregano go crazy, and then these are the Armenian cucumbers, which I got one so far. I don't really see any others growing. Well, there's a small one back here, but I don't look like it got pollinated. And that's been the big issue. So I'm gonna have to probably come back through here again and do some more hand pollination, see if I can get some more. Oh, I got one there. Looks like it's gonna continue. So hopefully we'll start getting a few here and there. But you know, if you look here, you can see that one that's turning yellow right here. Well, that's what ends up happening. So if they don't get pollinated, they're just not going to make it. They're going to die back, rot off the vine. All right. Then my radishes here, which are, like I said, being grown as a trap crop. Here I got some more peas. Once again, no real pods. I got some flowers. I mean, we'll see if they actually develop or not. I was very late in planting them because the first batch of seeds just didn't want to grow. And then over here, I have my cantaloupe. Now the cantaloupe, let me see here. See if I can find any actual cantaloupe growing. We did just get a heavy rain, so everything's kind of covered in dirt right now. I have to go through and rinse everything off. I don't see any cantaloupe starts yet. Mostly male flowers. But again, I'm probably going to have to come in here and hand pollinate these as well as I can. Hopefully we'll get something. I mean, I'm telling you, man, a lack of bees, a lack of pollinators is rough. I mean, it is so critical to the success of a garden. Alright, tomato back in there, seems to be doing okay so far. That's another cherry tomato. We're just kind of letting go wild. Well, I'm assuming it's a cherry tomato. Watermelons. I've got some baby watermelon. Like there's one there. There's a few more over there. I'm not sure if they got pollinated. We'll see if they actually grow. But the plant's doing well. And then of course I've got my Amaranth, which we can harvest for a bunch of salad. Squashes are doing well. I've got some squashes. Now, not all of these that are growing were actually ones I hand pollinated. So something is getting in there and trying to pollinate. Just don't know what quite yet. But it just had, oh man, that one's huge. I did not intend for it to get that big. There's a big one back in there. Yeah, so I have not seen any squash bug evidence yet. I haven't really looked. I'm gonna start probably go through this here shortly and take a look, but I've already got enough squash to call it a success, so I'm happy. Got some more tomatoes here. These were planted later. As you can see, I got a few small tomatoes starting. There's some there, and a couple more under there. So they're doing all right. Doesn't look like the shade is really bothering them. I was kind of curious to see what would happen, and so far they seem to be doing just fine. So I'm gonna let them go, let them continue. More cucumbers over here, which are doing okay, but again, haven't really seen any evidence of cucumbers. And these are kind of boxed in by the other stuff, so it's really hard to get in there and hand pollinate those. So I'm going to kind of let them go. I did want to show you this right there. That, my friends, is a cucamelon. Right there, little cucamelon. They don't get a whole lot bigger than that, but I'm telling you, when you're walking around in your garden, they are a fantastic snack. So good. And that's really what we're going for. I don't know that you can save them, store them. I'm not really sure they're big enough to make a difference. And then over here on this side, this cucumber plant is really doing much better. It's growing up high. I do have some small cucumbers, but again, lack of pollination seems to be an issue. I'm hoping as they grow up a little taller, I'll keep weaving them in and out of this trellis. Hopefully as they get a little taller, I'll have better access to the leaves. I'm sorry, to the actual flowers, and see if I can't do a better job of pollinating. My basil here is doing fantastic. I'm going to have to cut some of that back. We'll harvest some and convert it into pesto. Now these tomatoes in here are doing great. This is that one where I planted the stock. It's doing just fine. It's growing up. It is obviously rooted in, and it started to really to grow a lot. This one here, which is a purple Cherokee, has got several tomatoes on it, and it's growing up. I got to tie it back a little more, try and get more of it to grow so that it won't start drooping on me. Same thing with this one here, which is that Buratino tomato, which I'll be honest with you, those plants seem weak. They really don't want to grow very well. Just not one of my better tomatoes so far. And we'll see as time goes on. And then up in here I got some more beans. You can see I got more beans that need to be harvested down in there. So I'll be going around doing that today. Now the cherry tomato, the sweetie cherry tomato, you can see I've got tomatoes all over the place. And they're just now really starting to ripen up. And then this one over here is an Ethiopian black, which, man, it is going insane. It is having a ball. So I'm loving that. Then over there, back in that corner of my food forest, I mean my square foot garden, that is a yellow pear tomato, which, you know, I got a few of them off it last year, saved some seeds and grew it again. Not a real big producer, but the tomatoes are tasty. Very tasty. Alright, then here, this has just not been fantastic this year. I'm really watering it, trying to keep it up, but my square foot garden is doing, kind of, sort of. Now, I did not put fresh compost in this one this year, just for lack of compost. I mean, I'm getting some kale. It's trying to grow back. I'm letting it seed. I want to get some seed from it. But even seed pods aren't really going crazy. Once again, lack of pollination. Got another tomato there that's trying. Not really going fantastic. Cherry tomato here is doing pretty well. But cherry tomatoes don't mind the heat. Don't seem to, at least. And seem to be one of the ones that will continue to grow throughout the season. Alright. So I highly recommend them. Again, I got some more oregano that I'm going to have to cut back here shortly. Then over here is my strawberry bed, which got moles real bad. Started dying back, so I went through and hosed it down real hard with a pressure spray. Tried to collapse them mole hills, and I haven't seen any evidence of the moles coming back. And the strawberries are starting to come back a little bit, but it's pretty much going to be strawberries for next season. You can see I've got a few flowers in there, but again, not doing fantastic. Alright, so that's the main garden. Let me just go over here and look at some of these others. Butterfly garden is coming together. Got a lot of flowers. Got a lot of milkweed, but not a lot of butterflies. And again, this is probably pollinator heaven right here. Should be swarmed with bees. and various other pollinating insects. It's just nothing here. Just really nothing here. I don't get it. I don't understand. I'm really hoping this is not a permanent thing, because man, if it is, this is going to be miserable. Alright, but that's our butterfly garden. Got some dragonflies, but you know, dragonflies are great, but they don't really pollinate things. So we're getting there, slowly coming together. The idea has got to be, we're trying to get to where we have enough flowers and such in here to actually cover the ground with a living mulch. We'll see how that goes. Did I see a bee over here? Yeah. Boy, I don't know what the heck that was. Alright, and over here in our tomatoes, these tomatoes are doing fantastic. You can see I've got a couple of the aromas there that are ripening up, about ready to be picked. And then over here I have a ton of tomatoes coming up. Got some more there that are doing fine. And then the rest of them are coming along, slowly getting bigger and bigger. But I do have a ton of tomatoes just waiting for them to get ripe. And if you look, some of these are pretty good sized tomatoes. And that bad boy right there is nice. Man, look at that. I'm excited. I got to come back in here and kind of tie these up a little higher again. But so far, this seems to be a success with tying them up like that. And then in the back I got some sunflowers. And then these are my climbing beans, which you can see they're putting on beans. They're still small yet. We'll get some more. These over here had died back, so I had to replant them, but they're coming up. And then again over there, they're slowly starting to climb up. So they're getting better. So in the shade garden down in here, I have a bunch of turmeric. Not a lick of it has popped up. Now hopefully, here in, I want to say June is when they normally pop up. So hopefully we'll have some here very shortly. The cabbage, we're still getting cabbage leaves. I mean, it's not going to make head cabbage. You can see it's already starting to get eaten up by pests. I planted some more chard in here. I don't know if it'll come up. I don't know, it might be too hot. But we'll see if I can get the chard to grow in here. Between that and the lettuce that's growing back in the back, you got the black-seeded Simpson, which seems to be okay right now. And a little bit more of the Merlot, which I got to say, it bolted much later than the black-seeded Simpson. So I'm hoping that that'll be something that we can continue to grow. That's why I'm trying to get some seeds off of it. And then let's talk about fruit trees real quick. So you can see that's my loquat, and then my other really big loquat. Really got no loquats to speak of this year. The plums have been really, really good. We've gotten a bunch of plums, which is funny because loquats are just a Japanese plum. But the plum trees seem to have done fine. Got a lot of plums. We've been eating plums right and left for a while now. You see here's another plum tree that's doing well. And we've taken quite a bit off of it already. So production on that has been fantastic. My new little food forest, it's doing okay so far. I got to go back in and weed some more. I got to pull more of that grass out. That's that net sedge. And if I can get as much of that out as possible, that'll help. And I'm slowly planting some other things up in here. I've got some more peppers over here. I've got some zinnias that I transplanted, which were looking rough, but they're coming back all right. Shampoo ginger there. My seed avocados. There's that one right there is a Florida avocado, and this one's just a regular Hass avocado. And then down in here you see my raspberries. Oh, I'm sorry, not raspberries, blackberries. I've got some big fat blackberries. They're a thornless variety that I got from my neighbor from cuttings. And then the goji berries are trying. They're just freshly transplanted, so they're doing okay. Got some marigolds planted up in here. Another loquat tree there. Some pomegranates. Now this pomegranate tree here last year had put off a couple of blooms and they died back. But I don't see any this year. but I did just transplant it. So I'm really not sure if I'll get anything this year or next, but hopefully sometime in the near future. Down here I've got some more zucchini. Basically I thinned them out and just tried transplanting these two, and they did fine, actually. I was kind of impressed. I didn't think they would really grow. And then back over here, I have a Seminole pumpkin that is struggling. All right, but this dirt is not very good. I'll be honest with you, it's not the best dirt. Got some mulberry trees up in here. Now, if you compare that Seminole pumpkin to this one here, I got my toilet, my crappy planter, as I call it. Now it's really hot, so the leaves are kind of wilty right now. I'll probably have to put some more water in that. But it seems to be doing okay. I mean, you can see it's already starting to put out a runner. And then the nice thing about those runners is they will root. And so if you have issues with squash bugs and such, it's okay, because with the runners, they'll root as they go along. And if one section of the plant dies off, hopefully the rest of the section will be okay. And I'm going to run those along here all the way down. And then my tomato up in there is actually doing okay. It's got some basic, flower buds fixing to come out. We'll see if it actually produces. Just a shitty experiment. We'll see how it goes. So far it's doing all right though. All right, now let's talk Moringa. So you can see I've got 1, 2, 3. There's another one in the middle. There's 4 and 5 stalks. They're either coming off of the base of the plant, or that are coming back from the root. And this one here is probably already 5 foot tall. And keep in mind, this is May 15th, and they'll grow all the way until they freeze. And you can see the trunks behind them. I left them there on purpose so you can kind of see how big and fat those trunks got. But this one got, probably close to 30 foot tall. I mean, it was nearly as tall as my pine trees up there, which are pretty stinking tall. All right, it was all up in those branches directly above. All right, so at least 20, 25 feet, maybe 30. All right, so this year what I'm going to do is, once they get above the tops, that's kind of why I left those tops there, is I'm going to go ahead and trim them back and try and get them to bush out more and provide a little more shade from my food forest up in here. It'll just be partial shade, and it should help with the heat and all that. My ice cream bananas are growing well. I got 3 stalks, and they're getting taller. Sure would like to get some bananas, but hey, we'll take what we get. My Italian honey fig is doing well so far. And then that's a little bit of the sweet potato that's growing. This goji berry bush here was the one I bought originally, and last year it did flower and did produce 1 goji berry, which Mama ate, so I never got to taste them. She says it was really good though, so I'm excited. Hopefully it'll flower again this year and provide us with some fruit for the summertime, or I think it was late summer when it actually started fruit. Now this Ashia fig tree, let's see here, doesn't really put out its figs right now, but there are a few that are coming out. You can see that one right there, and there's a few others up in here. So it seems to be kind of a later fig. You see there's some there, another one down there. So I'm getting a few figs here and there. Another one there, some more over there. All right, and that's one of the big producers. It'll produce pretty much from this point all the way into the fall. And in fact, year before last, we lost most of our harvest because of freeze. All right, now I haven't cut this back at all this year. I'm just letting it go crazy. I might cut it back at the end of the year, we'll see, just to get it out of the pathway. And this is our brown turkey fig, which I transplanted this because it wasn't growing well, and I thought it was because it wasn't getting enough sun. And to be honest with you, it just hasn't really grown a lot. I mean, you can kind of see here, if you look at the woody stalks, I might have gotten 6 inches of growth off of this. But you can see it's putting out figs as well, so we'll get a nice bunch of figs off of that. And that is a really nice plant. I'm going to tell you, fig trees, if you can grow them, are really cool because they keep producing. Now these are the blanket flower, and man, last year I had bees everywhere. And you can see I got one little bee down there. And it's flying around. But last year they were just covered with pollinators. And I've got another bee flying around there, but nowhere near what we had last year, and I just don't get it. Not really sure what is going on. Alright, last year this nectarine tree produced a few nectarines, but this year it hasn't flowered, hasn't produced anything. But that's alright, I really want it to just grow. If I can get it to grow. I mean, once again, if you look, you can see some new growth, but it's not a lot of new growth. We'll see. You know, we're going to try and keep it wet, keep it going. There's my other avocado tree. That's the second one. That one is the Fantastic Avocado. And it seems to be fine. I mean, it's not drooping or anything, so that hopefully will continue to grow up. Got some other wild stuff in here, like some mustard. So I let the mustard kind of go wild and drop seed and then regrow so that hopefully it'll discourage the nematodes. Alright, on the lemon tree, I mean, I've got lemons. Hopefully you can see those. Kind of hard to get a count because they're still green and very small, but it looks like we'll have a pretty good crop. I will say that's the sparsest I have seen this lemon tree for leaf coverage. Now, I'm sure that they'll continue to grow out and get bigger, but man, we lost a lot. When it got down to 24 degrees, it knocked a lot of them leaves back. Here's another peach tree, and I will tell you that planting your peach trees properly is very important, because I didn't on this one. We let it sit in a pot too long, and it just hasn't done fantastic, but it's growing, it's still coming. Hopefully we'll get some production off of it here in the next couple of years. What else do we got? There's my other baby fig tree down there. That's another Ashia fig that I grew from a cutting. It's doing okay. Over there, that's another plum tree that I grew from a cutting. And then that is another loquat tree that I grew from a seed. So they're doing fairly well. Got some other stuff up in here. I've got the African mint potatoes that are growing back. It's a really nice ground cover. And I've got the longevity spinach there and all over the place. And then of course some other flowers, wildflowers and such, that are just kind of growing at random. I let everything try and self-seed up in here. If I can keep the grass down, that's the biggest issue. As long as the grass doesn't take over, I'm happy. These are some onions. I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to work out. These are onions that I just didn't have a spot to plant them. So I just took the starter pot, or the starter cell, full of onion seedlings, and just stuck them in the ground. And worst come to worst, and it doesn't grow much, we can still harvest the greens and put those in salads or put them wherever you want them. Anywhere you use your onions, you can use those. But I'm kind of curious to see what will happen. Will they separate out? Will they actually produce bulbs? Or will they just be blah? And then in and amongst here, you can see there is a ton of marigolds that have just dropped from seed. There is zinnias over there. This whole area right in here is all zinnias. Alright, and they'll come up and produce really nice flowers and then go to seed and drop more flowers. And hopefully draw on the pollinators, man. Just cannot figure this out. Back there's a little bit of kale. I'm not sure how that got there, but it's actually coming back this year, which I'm kind of surprised. Haven't really had a good feeling for the Russian red kale like that. But it seems to be trying. And then of course my Pollinator Palace, which has no pollinators. So apparently they don't know they're allowed to move in yet. But hopefully soon, maybe this fall, we'll start to get a whole bunch of stuff in there. If nothing else, I really like the way that looks. It's a really neat addition to the garden. We got some flowers around it and so on, so we'll see how it all works out. I mean, it didn't cost me. I think the only real expense in this was the fasteners. And even those I had from other projects, so I really did not go out and buy anything to put in here. With the exception of the drill bits that I used to drill the holes in the logs. Alright, so all of that was scrap lumber. This is the rest of my pomegranates, right here on the other side of my lemon tree. And bushes are doing very well, but I have yet to see any flowers. I want to say it flowered later in the year, but I'm not sure. But you know, eventually it'll produce, hopefully. Alright, and then this is my one apple tree that seems to want to produce. It had one apple this year, and that was it. Had some flowers, but the flowers all died or fell off, and we had one little tiny apple that was really out of season because we already harvested and eaten that one. So I'm assuming that we're going to be waiting for next year on this. But apples are very sketchy around this area because, you know, like we had a couple of cold days, but after it got cold, it got hot again. So we didn't really get a lot of cold hours, and that's probably why it's not doing well. But it is growing and getting larger. So as long as that's happening, I'm happy. Our big old honking olive tree, which has not made any olives, but it takes a while. Butterfly bush, some more pollinator plants, some mums down there. And then what we're doing back over here, well, I got strawberries in there, but they never really produce. They just are kind of a ground cover. And this is a passion, purple possum passion vine. So we picked that up when we went to each of our jacks, and the idea is we're going to plant it there and try and grow it up this tree. If it kills the tree off, I'm good with that because it's just another crepe myrtle and don't really need it. Though it does provide a little bit of shade. This is my other apple tree, which again just has not done well. But this whole area here, even though I put tons and tons of wood chips on, it's just not my best growing area. Alright, but I mean, you see the blueberries are looking okay. They're actually doing better this year than they have in the past. Got another loquat there that was just a volunteer. I'm not sure how it got there. Probably a bird dropped it or something, or a squirrel. Now the lemon tree from cutting, this one is actually growing. The other one died back. This one's actually doing fine so far. I'm going to let it continue to grow up. I'll probably, at least for the moment, I'm going to allow it to become a bush until I get a lot more healthier looking growth at the top at least. Mama's tote, where she's got some onions, some peppers growing. There was some chard, but the ducks get up in there because they can reach it and munch away, so we'll see how that works out. Her little fountain, which I'm standing in the way of the solar cell. And the birds do come in here and munch off the fountain, or drink off the fountain, so they're pleased with it. Some more blackberries. That's another one from cutting. This one was a gift and did not grow very well last year. And then this one is one we bought like 5 years ago, and you can see the grand total of the growth on that. I don't know. I mean, I could add fertilizer, but I really don't want to. So we have thrown some compost down. I'm trying to keep them moist, and we'll see how it goes. Back over there is my sad little avocado tree that just has not produced. I had them grown. It keeps freezing off and coming back from the roots, so we'll see where that goes. Got a few more things over here. Got another mulberry tree there, and then I've got a raspberry bush, and then another tiny raspberry. There was 5 of them I put back here, and they just don't like it here, so I'm gonna have to figure out something different. There's one more there, so out of the 5 there's 3 of them still surviving. Some gardenias, which I have one gardenia flower. I'm thinking about getting some pine fines, is what they call it, some pine bark, and mulching this very heavily, because all of this is supposed to like the acidic soil a bit more. So we'll see how that works out. But you'd think, I mean, got these pine trees right up above that drop a lot of pine needles. You can see them all back in the back, but doesn't seem to really acidify the soil nearly as much as I'd hoped. And then our mint garden with some stevia and various other things in it. We actually pulled all of the oregano out because we just got too much oregano. And then back in the back over here, I have my ginger. That's a shampoo ginger in the front, and that's a cardamom ginger in the back. And some more blueberries here, which the plants do okay, but they just really haven't produced a lot. So maybe eventually they'll grow up and become real blueberry bushes, but we'll see. Once they, probably here in the next month or so, I'll trim them back and try and form them into something a little closer to what looks like a bush. Got some aloe up in there and so on, a few other things. My container gardens, Malabar Spinach is doing fantastic. I've got some basil and some kale and some more Swiss chard. Some more kale and basil. There is a baby Swiss chard back here. Just haven't been doing great. This one gets a lot less sun, but I think it makes the kale taste better. So it's been doing okay so far. And as far as food crops, over here you can see I've got my tatsoi that's actually bolting. I got to cut that out because there's not going to be any pollinators in here, so I don't think the seed will be viable. But the celery has done fantastic, and we've gotten a lot of harvest off of these tatsoi plants, so they've done really well. But that is some pre-fertilized potting soil that's in there, so that's kind of cheating. All right. But then we got some of Mama's plants back here. And then if we go over here, this lettuce here is bolting, so I got to tear that apart, fix that up, put some stuff in it. Probably going to put some of this in there. This is some parsley I've got growing. Back here, some holy basil in pots. We'll be spreading those around. Some peppers for my daughter. Various flowers and such. This is some more of the Malabar spinach. And you can see it's getting a lot more sun over here, and it's just loving it. Man, it is growing very well. All right, but once again, that's potting soil. So. And this is the Merlot lettuce. You see it's just now starting to bolt. And I gotta say, man, it's produced a ton of lettuce. So I'm definitely gonna gather some seeds from this and grow it again. And then my inside tomatoes, and if you guys are wondering whether or not tomatoes have to be pollinated, they do not. You can look in here and see I have got some giant tomatoes. I'm not even sure how the heck that one grew. Alright, but it's pretty cool looking. Alright, and got that one there. I've got some more. Well, some of the buds look like they're drying now. I don't know what's up with that. But there's some more back in there. We'll see how many more it produces. But if it just produces those, that'll be enough. I got another one there. But the key is, hang on. But I think the key thing here is to understand that you can grow tomatoes inside of a caged or a screened-in area. Like this one here. This is the Acres Plum, and it's produced. We've gotten several tomatoes off of this one. Produced some nice little fat tomatoes. They were some of the first ones to ripen up, and I did have this in the greenhouse as a plant, so I kind of cheated with that. But you can see it's producing a lot more tomatoes, and it's slowly growing up. So you don't need pollinators for tomatoes, which is a good thing to know, because, man, if we start losing pollinators, we're going to have to figure out, how to hand pollinate and how to grow things that don't require pollinators. Then we got some more flowers and such planted here and there. Oh man, I left my cowpeas sit out in the rain. Darn it. I guess I'm gonna have to plant those. Yeah, if you leave seeds sitting out in the rain, it's okay. You just got to get some planting going on. I mean, I wouldn't try and store those seeds now, so I'm gonna end up having to put them someplace. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll probably put them in a pot for now and get the plants growing. So that's the avocado tree. It's doing fine so far. Doesn't seem to be having an issue. My black cherry tree that does not appear to be a black cherry tree. This is my Fuyu Persimmon, and it had a bunch of fruit on it, but all the fruit fell off and died. And that's okay. I mean, I really want the tree to grow for a while before I start worrying about fruit. But I thought it'd be interesting to at least try one, but that didn't happen. Then back there I got my kumquat tree, olive. This peach tree is another one that hasn't done fantastic, but it actually has a few peaches. There's another one right there, and then there's another one down there. And the trunk is getting thicker, and it's actually growing a bit better this year, so I'm overall pleased. I probably got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 plums on it. Peaches. Oh, and the yarrow's looking real pretty. It's growing up crazy all over the place. So hopefully that'll drop seeds, and we'll get some more next year. Another pomegranate bush that's never done very well. Pear trees, which we have tons and tons of tree, but no pears. There's another baby pear right here. That's the one I did with the air layering, and it has not really done anything. It's growing, you know, we'll see how it goes. This is an orange, I want to say Mandarin orange tree, and it's growing. I mean, I've got some new growth up here. You can kind of see the top of the leaves. Let it get a little bit taller and I'll try and shape it up somewhat. I just got to keep it to where I don't run into it while mowing. But it's going to be a couple years. The grapes back here seem to be doing okay. The rain helped. Just really have not had a lot of luck with the grapes here. They're growing better this year, the vines are, than they have in a long time though, so I'm very pleased. I actually had a grape plant here that grew very well and then died completely. Not really sure what's up. That's why I put down the wood chips and the compost in there. I'll come back and do it again here in a little while. Now that is my mulberry hedge. Mulberries, we didn't get hardly anything from mulberries. And then back over here, this is the peach tree that we have gotten probably 3 dozen peaches off of. They're really good. It did well last year, did well this year. All in all, I'm a very happy man with this particular peach tree. This peach tree here, which is my biggest tree, actually might be, I mean, of the trees that I planted, it's probably the biggest tree altogether. The pear tree is giving it a good run for its money. But it just has not made a lot of peaches. I mean, it's a pretty tree though, so I'm pleased with that, but I really would like some stinking peaches off of it. Alright, that's pretty much what I got going on in the backyard. Got a few more things in the front, but we'll cover that at another time. I don't want to make this video go too long. Alright, so middle of May 2022, that's what I got growing in the garden. Keep in mind, all of this is being grown without fertilizer of any sort, without pesticide of any sort, grown as cheaply as I possibly can. It's all basically my labor. There's a few things I had to spend some money on, like the raised beds and the fences and so on, but the rest of it was all free, and will continue to be so as long as I can, you know, sustain it. Could I have grown better with fertilizer? Oh yeah, there's no question. If I'd have, you know, bought a big old bag of, you know, say 50 bucks worth of fertilizer and spread it around the garden, I'd probably have a lot more harvest. But that's not what I want to do. I mean, if I can grow enough without it, I think I'm still better off growing without fertilizer, without spending the money, and without having to worry about eating chemicals that have been thrown into my vegetables. Alright, so anyway, that's what I got going on so far this year. Do me a favor, let me know what you think. You know, if you got a garden growing, show some pictures. You know, show everybody else what it looks like. I mean, be proud of what you got. And I don't care if you're using fertilizer or not, that's up to you. I mean, you do you, I'll do me. But this has all been grown without any sort of fertilizer. Alright, so thanks for stopping by. Do me a favor, give me a like and a subscribe and let me know what you think. Most importantly, grow something. Get something growing in your yard. And come back and see me.